AI is a different growth story, but it is changing some of the math about how we think about investment returns inside organizations, but it is still very, very early days. The majority of organizations that are bringing AI in are not really seeing growth gains. They're seeing a bit of productivity or cost reduction, but we're not really seeing a lot of the use case that are generating decremental revenue or value creation for organizations. Again, we're early days, but the last couple of months are showing a little bit more doubt about how much these investments are going to translate into returns.
So when you talk to your C-suite clients, are they looking to embrace AI? Are they still in the stage of what is AI? And is it a friend to me? How do I think about it? What's the conversation you're having?
So I love this question because there's been a transition. So we went from kind of 2023, I'd say it was doubting. CEOs did not want to jump on another trend that was not going to pan out. Then we went into dabbling, right? Use cases, throwing Copilot licenses at people. We are very slowly transitioning into what I call deliberate, actually bringing AI into strategy. But relatively early days, the majority of companies are still dabbling. So while AI adoption is very high, it is incredibly shallow. Only kind of 10 to 15% of business work is being done in any form with AI. And any kind of cross-team, cross-functional use cases are relatively small.
What is as we step back here and think about all the economic data we've been getting over the last several weeks, including this week, we'll get some more on the labor front here. What's the conversations you're having today with your clients about the economy? What are you hearing? What's the conversation?
What's funny is that the market gets bored of topics when it goes on too long. We're kind of bored of the Iran war. We're bored of the K-shaped economy. CEOs don't have the luxury of getting bored. Just because a trend has been going on for a couple of months doesn't mean that it affects strategy. So I'd say, look, we're looking at the Iran war. We are looking at the economy, especially the lower end, and tariffs are back in play as of yesterday. And again, we might be tired of talking about tariffs, but they're real economic impact on companies trying to make some of these decisions.
The Pennsylvania Railroad was religion in my family, arcing across to Chicago. I mean, it's what came out of the three debacles of railroads going back to 1890. The analog to the railroads in AI, where are we in that path right now?
Very early days. The difference is 1890-ish. The difference is, Tom, when we laid some of the early railroads or the kind of the cable infrastructure in the 90s, there was nothing really going on them or through them in the early days. We do not have a demand issue right now. Like, this is very much, we are still lower supply than we have demand. So demand is high, it is increasing at a nonlinear rate, and it will continue to. But we are going to see a very volatile market when it comes to AI. We're seeing a shock the last couple of weeks because a lot of the vendors are changing how they're pricing, which is why compute cost and token max and all of those things are coming into the conversation.
Are the bro listening to people like you? Do you feel like they're in a vacuum in their earnestness and their $8 lattes out on the West Coast? Or are they actually listening to Bryn Jolson or Hummus about what's actually going on?
If you look at the differences between the impact that both economists, academics, and tech firms think that AI will have on productivity, the range is between 0.1% and 80%. Like, that is a hundreds of order magnitude difference. Like, we will eventually need to ladder out somewhere. It'll be higher than we've seen in other tech booms, but at this point, I think we're dramatically overestimating the near to short-term impact that AI will have on productivity.
Well, because that's a non-consensus view, I would argue, because I think most people that come into this studio with Tom and I suggest that, you got electricity at the top of the compendium, and right below that is AI, and well below that is the internet. That's kind of where people kind of weigh this
because
thing up.
Adoption was so much higher. We reached 50% of global adoption in 3 years. The internet was 7 to 10. The difference is what is happening inside organizations. It is very, I don't want to say easy because nothing's easy, but it is very approachable to get productivity booms at a team or function level. So engineering team at scale, 30% productivity. Customer service support, 30 to 50% productivity. What we do not have is cross-team, cross-functional, organizational-wide productivity, which is something you will see as an external. And the reason is getting those kind of gains does not take throwing AI on top of work. It takes actually redesigning workflows, and that is really hard work that takes time. So we'll get there, maybe / probably, but short to near term, we are looking at change.
Paul's too polite, so I'm going to ask.
Be blunt.
It's just another corporate education program. Baloney, it's Fuqua. The future of leadership now. What's the distinction about Duke corporate education versus another soiree to look buff and beautiful?
I think all forms of corporate education, whether it's London Business School or Duke, we are trying to help deliver impact and value creation and really understanding not just the topics, but how they can practically apply it inside their day-to-day work.
Do you make them do math?
All the time. Yeah.
This is cool.
I get when I put up charts, I always caveat it's going to be a chart, but you'll be fine.
I need corporate education to sponsor me. My first sponsor, the first people that said the idiot with the bow tie, let's throw money at him, Stern School of Business, NYU. Yeah. And one of the students showed me their math. Paul.
Yep.
I was like, are you kidding me? That's the energy that's in these programs, right?
Math still matters, Tom. Math still matters.
And she can come back, son.
Exactly. How do you put AI into the curriculum here? Because I would think that would be, if I'm anybody north of 28, 29 years old, I need to be educated on AI.
So there is plenty of education. I look at the vendor front as well on what we call hands-on keyboard education. And that's fine, but that's not what leadership teams need. Leadership teams need to actually understand, how do I retrain my teams? How do I hold people accountable for AI? And not to kind of overwhelm on jargon, but most companies are great at tracking the outputs of AI, how many use cases are in play, how many people have licenses, how many tokens are used. Organizations get nothing from those output measures. What we really need is kind of this organizational-wide, leadership-wide training on how to deliver outcomes from AI versus just outputs.
How about the ethics of AI? I mean, I was speaking to the Boston Consulting Group recently, and they say before they engage with a client who wants to, quote unquote, implement AI into their business model, they want to get buy-off at the C-suite level and the board level on ethical implementation of AI. How does that figure into it?
It absolutely does. And for full disclosure, I'm an advisor at BCG as well, is that if you think about first of all, it's not a senior leadership thing as well. Younger employees are very, very concerned about the ethical use as well. If you poll younger employees, that's what they want to talk about as well. The challenge is there's 3 or 4 simultaneous planks you need to work on if you want to get benefits from AI. You need to do organizational-wide upskilling. You need to focus on the governance, ethics, responsible AI. You need to build your tech infrastructure, data platform. Most established organizations don't have data in a way that they can actually leverage it using these AI tools. And then you've got to link it to outcomes. So doing those 4 things at the same time, we call it parallel pathing, is very difficult. But if you don't have the governance responsible AI in place, you're not going to move. The irony is that boundaries give folks freedom. So organizations that are moving the fastest are those that have the clearest boundaries in governance and responsible AI. When the rules are clear, people move faster.